Hello everybody, now let's talk grid references. You might think it's a little bit of a dry topic, but think of grid references as just like the address on a map. So we're going to use this fine mountain in the Lake District here, Dale Head, and as an example. So we want to arrange to meet somebody. We might be using it as part of a route along various points. So from here along this edge to Dale Head, and we can use grid references on our route card, or we might actually have to report an emergency, somebody lost or somebody injured, and then it would become extremely useful to have a grid reference. So join me and I'll take you through some easy steps both here and with the Cubs about how to take a Ordnance Survey 6-figure grid reference. I think this is so important, it's worth having the OS Locate app on your phone. It just requires a GPS signal and it'll give you the 6-figure grid reference for your current location. A really great source of information as well is this little booklet that's available from the Get Outside Ordnance Survey site. I'll put a link to that in the description below. And part of the content of that is all about grid references. So what those really clever, brainy people at Ordnance Survey have done is split up our country, or the United Kingdom, into these 100 kilometre by 100 kilometre squares. And you need to know which of those squares your map sits in. Now don't worry, printed on all maps in every corner is the 2-letter reference. So for instance, for the English Lake District, it says NY, which is here, and this is that on a bit of a bigger scale, NY. So we know that this map I'm using is within NY, and that forms part of the grid reference. But don't worry about that too much, because if you're operating in an area and you give somebody a 6-figure number grid reference, say for instance here in the Western Lake District, the northwestern area, they'll know that it's within that area, so you can just use the 6-figure grid reference. Another handy tip as well is on the back of any Ordnance Survey map, it'll show you the current area that you're working in. For instance, this is the Braemar area in Scotland, and it'll give you a little bit more detail about where that is. So back to the grid reference. Now, we talked about that 100 kilometre square, and we talked about that. Now you'll see on the map that there's small blue squares, for instance here. Now each of those square is a 1 kilometre square, so that's 1,000 metres by 1,000 metres. And along the bottom and up the side of that map there's a set of numbers. And this is a simplified version of that kind of grid. So always when we're taking a grid reference, we begin along the bottom. And we know on a map that the top is north, the right hand side is east, to the left is west, and to the bottom is south. And we just need to remember that we take the eastings first, so we're moving towards the east, and that's these numbers along the bottom, and then the northings second. And an easy way to remember that is to go along the corridor and then up the stairs. That doesn't always work when sometimes it's a little bit easier to take the numbers from the top. So if you like, you can remember eastings and northings, or along the corridor or up the stairs. Once you've practiced a little bit, it'll get easy. Now, if we're going to give a grid reference for this area here, and this is one blue square on our Ordnance Survey map, right in the middle here is Dale Head, that one blue square. So what we would do is start to work along the bottom of the map, and firstly we've got 62 here. It would work up. Imagine the Dale Head was in this square, so our eastings would be 62, and then we'd work up the side of the map, and our northings would be 33. So 62, 33 would be this square here, but we know that that is a 1 kilometre square. So for a coordinate, you have to start here and then work your way up to look at it. So everybody come round this side, so you're at the bottom of the map. Right, brilliant. Your turn. Call out some coordinates for the other team. So look at an object, and then look along the bottom first. So for instance, if you chose N, that would be 15, 9, wouldn't it? Okay, so think of another one. Give you some help if you want it.
4.
14, 4. So somebody off the other team who hasn't had a go yet? Watch. You're on this team. Come on then.
I'm next.
14.
15, 4.
So one at a time. Right, okay, step back. Now you think of one and they've got to go and stand on it.
2, 12. 2 is 12.
Okay. And let's get back to our map here. That's Dale Head, a 1 kilometre square. And let's get the exact 4-figure grid reference first for Dale Head. So if I look at the bottom of the map here, and it helps to use a straight edge for this. There's 22 along the bottom, and I'll follow that blue line up to here. And I've got the second ruler here, and I'll go out from Dale Head along to the northings, and that's 15. So we know we've got 22, 15, and that's that 1 kilometre square that Dale Head sits in. Now, to give us the exact 6-figure grid reference, what we're going to do is divide this into 10 little spaces, and the work starts a little bit here because you've got to do this in your head in an imaginary way, but don't worry, with practice it gets a lot easier, and there's a couple of real easy tools that you can use. So that in the last video we talked about the scale along the side of the map, so we'd look at the scale corresponding to your map. We can see here that this is 1 in 25,000, and this is marked there as 1 kilometre, and you can see that exactly fits that square there, blue line to blue line, and you'll see the smaller lines along here, and of course these correspond to 100 meters. This card that I've talked about before is from mountain training, and using the 1 in 25,000 scale on this map here, you can see here that there's 100 meter increments here. So we said before that eastings, whoops, this was 22, 15, and if we want to give the exact location of Dale Head summit, we know that this line here is 22, and when we split this up into 1, 2, 3, I would say that that is exactly on the 3 mark. So the easting 6-figure grid reference is 223, and we know that this line here is the northing 15 line, and if we use our same little marker again, it's 3, so that's 153. So our exact 6-figure grid reference for Dale Head is 223 153. So that grid reference gives us a 100 meter square location. So you can imagine if you added another number to that, further dividing that down to give an 8-figure grid reference, that would give you a 10 meter location. But for most of us, a 100 meter accuracy is good enough to give a location. Let's have a look how the Cubs got on.
No street names on this, so if you wanted to tell somebody where you were tonight, like the emergency service, like the fire service, let's say somebody fell and broke their leg, and you didn't know the name, but we had a map, how would you tell them where we were?
Would you use like the coordinates on the map? Like
Yeah,
tell them...
we'd give them a grid reference. So that's what we're going to have a go at doing. We know in the northeast that we are in NZ, and on this map it's marked NZ there. So that's telling us that this map is in this section here.
Yeah, metro line close to there.
Oh, there's the metro line there, that black line behind us. We're by that M there. Don't kneel on the map though, because if you move it'll tear. So have a go along the bottom and see what number it is along the bottom.
35.
So you've got to go this way.
Stop covering it. It's 35.
So it might be easier. I know I said go along the bottom. Sometimes it's a little bit easier to go along the top. So we are. What's that number?
17.
71. I know it's upside down, so it's difficult. And would you say we're about on that line?
Just underneath it.
Okay. So Triggs pointed out an important thing. So if we say we are at 3371, we know that we are somewhere in that square there. But that's not accurate enough, because that's actually
Like
a kilometre square. So if we said to our mum and dad or to the police or fire, whatever, can you come and pick us up, or somebody's broken the leg, there's actually no point in saying, well, we're somewhere in this kilometre square. So what actually we can do is we can divide these up, or we can estimate it into 10 little squares for, what was it? For that bit, 34.3 by 72.2, and that would be our 6-figure grid reference, and somebody would be able to find right this spot here.